Do you know why you're exhausted all the time? Why you sleep 7, 8, sometimes even 9 hours, and still wake up feeling like garbage? Why your alarm goes off, and your first instinct isn't to get up, but to smash the snooze button like your life depends on it? Why you need coffee just to feel human, and more coffee just to survive the afternoon? Here's the truth no one tells you. You're not tired because you're not sleeping enough. You're tired because you're sleeping wrong. You're sleeping like a modern person, inefficiently, restlessly, disconnected from how sleep actually works. Meanwhile, there's a sleep system that's been hiding in plain sight for over 400 years. A system used by samurai warriors, men who had to stay sharp, alert, and combat-ready at any moment, often on far less sleep than you're getting right now. Samurai didn't have the luxury of 8 uninterrupted hours in a dark, silent room. They had night watch duties. They had rotating guard shifts. They had to be ready to fight at 3 a.m. if enemies attacked. So they couldn't afford bad sleep. They needed maximum recovery in minimum time. And they figured it out, not through willpower, not through suffering, but through understanding sleep architecture, centuries before EEG machines, sleep labs, or modern neuroscience. Polyphasic sleep, sleep compression, REM, optimization, modern science is only now catching up. And before you dismiss this as ancient mysticism or some internet biohack fantasy, understand this. Everything I'm about to show you is backed by real sleep research. The samurai just discovered it first because they had no choice. Before we dive in, do me a favor, subscribe, like this video, and comment how many hours you sleep and how you actually feel when you wake up. Because this video exists for one reason. I'm tired of watching people waste 1/3 of their lives in bed and still wake up exhausted. Now let me show you how to sleep like a warrior and reclaim your time. I want to tell you about a man named James. James was 29 years old, not sick, not depressed, not lazy, just permanently bone-deep tired. James slept 8 hours every night, sometimes 9 on weekends. He went to bed at 11 p.m., woke up at 7 a.m., textbook perfect sleep, and every single morning he felt like he'd been hit by a truck. His alarm would go off, and his hand would automatically reach for snooze. Once, twice, 4, 5 times. By the time he finally dragged himself out of bed, it was 7:40. He'd rush through his morning, show up to work already exhausted, and feel behind before the day even started. By 10 a.m., he needed his first coffee. By 2 p.m., his second. By 4 p.m., he was fighting to keep his eyes open in meetings, nodding, blinking, praying no one noticed. His productivity was terrible, not because he was incompetent, but because his energy was broken. He'd sit at his desk with good intentions, and find himself reading the same paragraph 3 times without comprehension. His manager noticed. "James, you seem tired all the time. Are you sleeping enough?" James always said yes, because technically, he was. 8 hours, yet he functioned like someone who pulled an all-nighter. His social life slowly died. Friends invited him out. "Can't. I'm exhausted." Weekends became recovery missions. He'd sleep 10 hours on Saturday, wake up groggy, waste half the day feeling sluggish, then feel guilty for wasting his weekend. Sunday was the same, and Monday, he'd walk into work just as tired as he was on Friday. The more he slept, the worse he felt. It made no sense. James tried everything: a $3,000 mattress, melatonin supplements, sleep tracking apps that told him his sleep quality was excellent. Didn't matter. He still woke up exhausted. He tried going to bed earlier. That just meant more time lying awake, or more hours of useless sleep. He tried going to bed later, thinking maybe he was oversleeping. That just made things worse. Years passed, thousands of dollars wasted, and nothing changed. Because James was asking the wrong question. The question wasn't, how can I sleep better? The real question was, am I sleeping wrong? James had one friend who didn't make sense. His name was Kenji. Kenji worked in finance, trained martial arts, ran a side business, had a social life, and somehow did all of this while casually saying he slept 4 to 5 hours a night. James assumed Kenji was lying. Nobody functions on that little sleep, long term. But one day at lunch, James finally asked him directly, "Be honest, how much do you actually sleep? Because you have more energy than anyone I know." Kenji smiled. "I really do sleep 4 to 5 hours most nights, but I sleep differently than you." James laughed. "That's not possible. Every sleep expert says 7 to 9 hours, or you destroy your health." Kenji shook his head. "That's what they tell people who sleep inefficiently. What matters isn't total hours, it's sleep architecture." James leaned in. Kenji continued. "Sleep isn't one long block, it's cycles, about 90 minutes each. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, over and over. Most people sleep through 4 to 6 cycles per night. But here's what no one explains. Not all sleep is equal. Deep sleep repairs your body. REM sleep repairs your brain. Light sleep is mostly filler, important, but far less valuable. Samurai understood this. They couldn't afford waste, so they optimized for deep sleep and REM while minimizing everything else." James frowned. "So how do you do that?" Kenji explained. "Sleep compression, strategic naps, cycle-aligned wake-ups, and inamuri, controlled micro-sleeps during the day." James had never heard any of this. "You're saying samurai figured this out centuries ago?" Kenji nodded. "They had to. They were warriors, and modern science is only now confirming what they already knew." James paused, then asked the question that changed everything. "Can you teach me?" Kenji looked at him seriously. "I can, but this isn't a 1-week hack. It's a 30-day adaptation. The first 2 weeks will be rough. Your body will resist, but if you commit, you'll get your life back." James thought about all the mornings he woke up exhausted, all the weekends wasted catching up on sleep, all the opportunities he skipped because he was too tired. "Yes," he said, "teach me." Kenji didn't explain the system like a productivity trick. He explained it like a survival protocol. Samurai didn't sleep for comfort, they slept for readiness. Every technique they used existed for one reason: extract maximum recovery from minimum time. The first thing Kenji made clear was this: sleep is not measured in hours, it's measured in cycles. Roughly 90 minutes each. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM, over and over again. Most people wake up in the middle of a cycle every single morning, ripping themselves out of deep sleep. That's why they feel destroyed, even after 8 hours. Samurai never did that. They slept in complete cycles only. 6 hours wasn't less sleep, it was 4 clean cycles. 4.5 hours wasn't deprivation, it was 3 perfectly finished cycles. The goal was never longer sleep. The goal was cleaner sleep. Then came compression. Samurai reduced sleep to the minimum number of cycles their body required, and made those cycles non-negotiable. No drifting, no lying in bed, no oversleeping. When they slept, the body recovered hard and fast. Deep sleep was protected above everything else. Samurai understood something modern culture forgot. Deep sleep happens early. The first part of the night does most of the physical repair. Extra hours at the end add very little. Cutting sleep didn't cut recovery, it cut waste. Finally, they replaced what was lost with strategy. Short naps, controlled rest, micro-sleep throughout the day, not laziness, maintenance. Their nervous systems stayed sharp because recovery never depended on one long, fragile block of sleep. Kenji looked at James and said something he'd never forget. Samurai didn't sleep less because they were tough. They slept less because they were precise. And that was the moment James realized this wasn't about sleeping less. It was about sleeping correctly. By the beginning of week 3, James entered the phase Kenji had warned him about. This was adaptation hell, the point where the system either reshapes your biology or exposes your lack of discipline. James compressed his core sleep to 3 cycles, midnight to 4:30 a.m. On paper, it sounded reckless. 4.5 hours of sleep at night, plus 2 short naps during the day. His rational brain screamed that this was unhealthy. Every instinct told him to quit, but Kenji had been clear. The body resists change before it adapts. This discomfort wasn't damage, it was recalibration. The first few mornings were brutal. Waking at 4:30 a.m. felt unnatural, like violating some biological law. His body begged him to stay in bed. His thoughts were slow. His limbs felt heavy. But something strange happened once he got moving. By the time the sun began to rise, his alertness returned. And when he took his first 8 a.m. nap, the fog lifted completely. It wasn't gradual, it was instant. He woke up from that nap feeling sharper than he ever had, waking up from 8 hours of normal sleep. Kenji explained what was happening. James wasn't sleep deprived, he was sleep redistributed. His body was learning that recovery was no longer optional or spread out lazily across the night. It had a limited window, and it adapted by packing recovery into that window with ruthless efficiency. This is how warriors slept. Not because it was comfortable, but because it was effective. By day 4 of week 3, something unexpected happened. James woke up at 4:29 a.m., 1 minute before his alarm. No grogginess, no confusion. His eyes opened, and his mind was already online. That moment changed everything. It was proof that his circadian rhythm had adapted. His body now understood the schedule. It knew exactly when sleep ended, and it exited at the cleanest possible point, the end of a cycle. This is what most people never experience. They live their entire lives waking up mid-cycle, shocked awake by alarms, ripping themselves out of deep sleep. That's why mornings feel like trauma. James wasn't waking up anymore. He was finishing sleep. That distinction mattered more than total hours. Within days, the alarm became unnecessary. His body woke him naturally, calmly, with clarity. No snooze button, no internal negotiation. The discipline he had forced at the beginning was now automatic. His nervous system had rewritten its expectations. The naps were the most misunderstood part of the system, and the most powerful. James had always associated naps with laziness or grogginess. But these weren't naps, they were precision tools. Each one lasted exactly 20 minutes, no more, no less. Any longer, and he'd slip into deep sleep and wake up disoriented. Any shorter, and the effect diminished. The caffeine nap became sacred. Coffee, then immediate rest. At first, it felt counterintuitive, but once his body adapted, the results were undeniable. He'd wake up feeling like someone had flipped a switch in his brain. Creativity surged, focus sharpened, emotional stability returned. These naps weren't replacing nighttime sleep. They were targeting REM sleep directly, something most people only get inefficiently at the end of long, bloated sleep sessions. Kenji explained that after several hours awake, the brain is primed for REM. A short nap at the right time doesn't waste minutes drifting through light sleep. It goes straight to the good stuff. This is why pilots, soldiers, and elite performers use controlled naps. The samurai did the same, without ever naming it. By the end of week 3, James noticed something more important than extra time. His energy was stable. There was no morning crash, no afternoon collapse, no desperate evening exhaustion. His energy didn't spike and fall. It stayed level. This was new. For the first time in years, he wasn't managing fatigue. He was operating with clarity from morning to night. This happened because his sleep was no longer fighting his biology. His deep sleep was protected. His REM sleep was replaced strategically. His circadian rhythm was consistent. And consistency, more than duration, is what the human nervous system craves. Samurai didn't sleep long. They slept predictably. That predictability is what allowed their bodies to adapt. James also noticed his mood improving. He was calmer, less reactive, more present. Sleep architecture doesn't just affect energy, it regulates emotion. REM, sleep processes emotional residue. When that's optimized, anxiety drops, irritability fades. The system wasn't just changing his schedule, it was stabilizing his mind. James became obsessed with understanding why this worked. He dove into sleep research and found validation everywhere. Modern sleep science confirms that deep sleep is front-loaded. REM is flexible. Light sleep dominates late cycles. Cutting sleep from 8 hours to 6 removes mostly low-value sleep. Cutting further requires supplementation, which naps provide. Studies on polyphasic sleep showed equivalent cognitive performance between people sleeping 8 hours continuously and those sleeping 4.5 hours plus naps. EEG data confirmed that naps often contained higher REM density than nighttime sleep. Research on micro-rest showed that even 5 minutes of eyes-closed breathing significantly reduced cognitive fatigue. Inamori, the practice of microsleep, wasn't laziness. It was neurological hygiene. Samurai understood this intuitively. Modern science just put numbers on it. By day 30, James's schedule had stabilized completely. Core sleep from 11:30 p.m. to 4 a.m., 2 naps, several short Inamori breaks throughout the day. Total sleep, about 5.5 hours. Total recovery, equal or better than 8. But the real transformation wasn't the numbers. It was his life. He had reclaimed nearly 3 hours every day. That time went into training, learning, and building a side business. His productivity doubled. His focus sharpened. His weekends no longer felt like recovery missions. They felt like opportunities. His manager noticed. His friends noticed. Even strangers commented that he seemed different, more awake, more intentional. James wasn't surviving anymore. He was operating. The system had rules, and breaking them had consequences. Absolute consistency was non-negotiable. Sleeping in on weekends destroyed adaptation. Alcohol ruined sleep architecture. Stress sometimes required temporary increases in sleep. This wasn't a hack. It was a discipline. Not everyone could compress to 4.5 hours. Some needed 6. The goal wasn't extremity. It was optimization. Samurai didn't chase suffering. They chased efficiency. The samurai figured this out 400 years ago because they had no choice. You do. You can continue sleeping 8 hours and waking up tired, or you can learn how sleep actually works and reclaim your life. This system isn't easy. Most people won't do it. But if you commit for 30 days, you'll reclaim 15 to 20 hours per week, nearly 1,000 hours per year. What would you do with an extra 1,000 hours? The samurai already answered that question. Now it's your turn.